Paltrocast.
Courtney, aside from having to talk to me and answer questions from the fake news media, how's your day going so far?
It's going good. That's pretty much how my day is going. It's raining a lot here in Savannah right now, but I think we're going to be fine. And just got tons of meetings lined up for today. But it's good to see you again, man. 2 years, right?
Likewise, likewise. And you're not one of those people where you go, oh, what do we have to talk about? Because the music career, you've got the EP coming out in a couple of weeks, but at the same time, the movies keep coming. I don't know if IMDb is correct when they say you have 10 upcoming projects. We don't have to spoil the mystery right there.
Well,
But
some of those are in development. Don't know if they're going to happen. But last year was a good year. Got to two very cool projects. One was The Wrath of Becky that came out
yes,
this year. That if you liked Becky, I think you'll like the sequel. I think it came out very good. And I knew during the pandemic when I started growing this beard that one of those Proud Boy type characters was going to come, and boy did it come. And it did not disappoint. I even played banjo in that thing, which I didn't know how to play, but I said, give me a banjo. If I can't figure it out, we'll do a guitar. And I faked it till I made it. And it came out pretty, the song is hilarious, really obnoxious. And then I got to go to New York and work for Rockstar, and they wouldn't tell me what we were doing. I was having a blast doing it though. And it turned out it was Grand Theft Auto Los Santos Drug Wars, a two-parter. One came out in December, and the other one came out in March, and it was this wonderful character named Lab Rat that I would say is the closest homage to Dennis Hopper for me you're ever going to get.
I heard a rumor that there's a Dennis Hopper, not a biopic, but a TV show that's inspired by his life coming. Have you heard those rumors?
No, I would love to be part of that because that's got to be wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, before I delve more into the EP, you mentioned the Wrath of Becky, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Aaron and some of the people from the cast of that. I had no idea how big that movie was until I put it up on social media. That's one of those things where people are dying for a third, fourth, and fifth movie, you know?
Yeah, there's already a third one in the pipeline. Of course, I'm not going to be in that, but spoiler alert. But yeah, no, it's done very well, and Lulu Wilson is it was a lot of fun to work with, and it was good. It was a fun thing. But yeah, it came out. The most important thing is that it came out well, right? So it's one of the better things I've been in a while, I'd say. But also then the Grand Theft, those were two really really good projects. So you just never know what's going to happen. So but musically in the 2 years, and I'll thank you publicly that you were one of the people that was willing to share some knowledge with me and help me talk to some PR people and things.
You're lying. You're absolutely lying. I don't
No,
do
I'm not,
anything
and
nice
I
for
I
anyone.
appreciated it because it's a weird business to try to crack. It's a weird nut. I
Yeah,
find it easier to figure out the movie business than it seems to be able to figure out the music business. I'll tell you, finding a booking agent, all those things are like a great mystery. Uh,
totally.
but but I feel like in the 2 years since I've talked to you, we've made some great progress. At the time, I think I was putting out my acoustic gains record, and that came out. And then I went and I tracked this record at the end of 2022. Thought I'd have it out earlier than I did. It's taken till October of this year to get it out, but learned a lot in that tracking process, and then started a band, the Courtney Gaines Group. Put my name on it, and you can find us on Facebook. And out here in Savannah now, we've been weekend warring for the past 9 months. Switched from my old band Ripple Street, where I played guitar and sang. This time I picked up bass. I wanted a better shredding or guitar player since we were doing a lot more covers and having to play 45-minute sets. I felt like we needed a little more talent there, and just really getting my chops together. It's been good, and that's all been leading up to this release, and then being able to hit the road next year, feeling like okay, I'm ready to go. So I feel like I've grown a lot and worked my act, and now putting out this record and having a label pick it up. It's a small indie label out of Savannah called Fake Fang Records, and that's where you'll have to go get it. It's not going to be on YouTube or Spotify or any of that stuff. You're going to have to go get it there. You can listen to it 3 times. If you like it, you can buy it. You can buy a digital download, or you can buy a CD, or you can even buy a signed CD. But it's nice to have that support. A guy named Jim Reed, who's a local musician here, has been sort of my mentor in town, telling me how to get it together here. And I feel like I've come a long way since I last talked to you. I feel like I'm actually gigging on a regular basis and doing my thing.
Well, if I can give you compliments here, no compliments, or are you at your limit for the day?
No, give them to me, brother. Give them to me.
Well, there's like a Burbs poster 10 feet that way because that's one of my wife's favorite movies. So a lot of your
Nice.
movies are just these staples that decades later are still being shown. They just remade Children of the Corn, you
Yeah,
know.
they did a prequel this time. After many, many remakes. I have not seen it, but this is a prequel. So that's an interesting concept. We've come
Right.
that far that we can get a prequel going.
So a lot of people just look at the film credits you have and be coasting off of that. But then when I look at your music credits, I don't know if a lot of people connect the dots and go, well, that guy worked with Matt Sorum and Slash on a track, and Bruce Kulick from Kiss and Grand Funk Railroad, and Doug Blair from Wasp, and
Yeah.
Greg from Bad Religion. There's a lot of heavy hitters on your resume. So where that leads me mentally is to go, are you a musician who used acting as the backup plan, or did music come to you a little later?
That's a good question. Well, number one, I'd say with all those guys, I just kind of got lucky, and it wasn't like I was out there scouring trying to make these connections. They just kind of fell in my lap over. I've been playing. I started playing guitar when I was 13. The same time I started taking acting. The acting career I always intended the acting to be a career, and I was lucky enough to get mentorship at a young age to break me into the business, and that made a huge difference. Music was always something that I just loved to do, and really I just like to write. I just really like to write, and it's a way that it's helped me through a lot of tough times in my life. Like the Ripple Street record I put out in 2009, that was a breakup record. That was just all about something I was going through, and it allowed me to get it out in a way. I find that I can articulate something better through music than sometimes I can articulate it verbally, because it also has a mood to it, a vibe to it, and it helps me. So it was just always an outlet for me creatively. And it really wasn't until 2021 when we met that I really started to say, after the pandemic, started saying, well, at this stage of my life, what do I want to do? And I said, I really just want to get my music out there. I want to find a way to just get it out there. And the advent of the technology now it's cheaper to do. You don't have to spend so much money in a studio. You can do a lot of home stuff. Maybe I track the drums in a studio or whatever. So it's made it more financially viable, but also given me a learning curve and a comfort too. Because you feel pressure in the studio, like by the hour you got to bang this thing out, and I just didn't want to feel that pressure, particularly vocally. I wanted to just be able to take as many tracks as I wanted and get to where I was happy. So it's been a cool process. But no, music's always been the side hustle that really wasn't about making a living at it. But I am, at least at this point, attempting to break even.
Well, you used a key term before, weekend warrior. And that's something I like to ask musicians about. That, for example, you remember the band Warrant, right?
Yes.
I love Warrant. I think that they're unfortunately saddled with the term hair metal because a lot of those songs are really anthems that live on, that are still great all these decades later. But in interviewing the guitar player Joey a couple of times, I asked him, hey, how did you know to go from being a band that did 6 and 8 week tours to becoming weekend warriors? And he said, well, we were on the road with these bands, and we're talking to Blue Oyster Cult, and they told us that's what they started doing. Right. So I'm curious how you kind of realized the weekend warrior thing is the smart thing to do, as opposed to booking these antiquated 6-week tours that don't make sense unless you're in amphitheaters.
Yeah, I've never been on that level. I've never had a booking agent on that level. The highest goal I have right now is I'd like to get to the point where we're like maybe playing some casino gigs and such, and some festivals where we make a little bit better money. To kind of justify our thing. But the difference between when I was in LA was a showcase town where they turn over 4 or 5 bands a night, right? And your job was to get an X amount of people in, and if you did, you could make a couple bucks and they'd call you back. And that's what we did. And I played nothing but originals, and that was cool because I really had no desire to play covers. But out here where I am now in Savannah is a tourist town, tons of restaurants, tons of bars, and what they're looking for is a band to literally bring your own PA and set up and play for 3 45-minute sets. You're the one band for the night, and that's the gig. And you got to do, at least 70% covers. So I'm still able to do my originals, but it's been great because I've been able to play consistently, been able to hire some guys because I can pay them that are really good, and work my act. and it's given me time, and I've gotten, more comfortable being in front of an audience. And it's also interesting because a lot of times, honestly, they don't know who I am, or do they care? And so
let's pause that for a second. They found that I think it was over 50% of people under the age of 16 had never heard of Destiny's Child. Now, if you never heard of the group where Beyonce came from,
right,
and Billie Eilish is on Jimmy Kimmel Live not knowing what Van Halen is,
yes,
then
there
I
you
think
go. I mean, when I realized, years back, people stopped knowing who Brando was. If they don't know who Brando is, they're sure as hell not gonna know who I am down the road. And
yeah.
But out here, it's an interesting balance, right? Because they actually do movies out here, and there are big stars that come through, and so they know that, but they're not looking. They don't think somebody like me is living here, basically. So I kind of am able to fall through the cracks on that level, and which is great. I love the anonymity, but I also love the anonymity when we're doing the band, in that they don't have to like me. And they don't know, if they don't know who I am, and they're just, it's a truth serum, right? They're not engaged, or they are engaged, and working on engaging them is a good thing. It keeps it real. Then there are times, though, like we did a gig in Augusta where the guy really hyped it up that we were coming, and that was fun because the people that were there to see me, and you could see the look on their face, which was like, is this going to be a train wreck, or is this going to be any good? It was kind of like, and you could feel the room, like, okay, a moment of truth. Does this actor suck, or is this going to be fun?
Yeah.
And we do it. Our opener is a little more up tempo version of Desperado, and it's a good vocal song, and we set the tone right away, and then jump into a couple good blues songs, and they're like, okay, this is gonna be a good night, let's rock. But I know that as an actor, my bar is not that high, which is good, so hopefully I can exceed it. Yeah.
I've had the pleasure through, covering gigs and all that, of seeing Johnny Depp live.
Well, Johnny Depp actually started out as a musician. A lot of people don't know that.
Yes,
he was a musician first, and he's great. And obviously his band's like world class,
That's what I'm getting at. So when I asked at the top of the conversation, like, are you an actor turned musician, a musician that wanted to be an actor, etc.? A lot of the actor bands, it turns out they were doing this longer than that. I think Kevin Costner was a musician turned actor.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. I intended to be an actor first, but music was an important thing to me personally. And like I said, I just love to write. And then as time gone on, I try to get it going. And then at this stage of my life, it's all just gravy. And all I just want to do at this point is share my music with people. That's it. And what I've learned through art, whether it be movies is you just never know the impact you're going to have unless you put it out there. And if you can actually, move one person and, make their life a little bit better, I think you've succeeded. So that's why I'm on here talking about it, right? I'm just putting it out there the best I can, and you just never know where it's going to land, and you just never know who you're going to move, touch, or inspire. And so just go for it.
So the new EP Safe Haven has 6 tracks on it. Did you pare that down from 10 or 12, or did you record 6 to get 6?
No, I recorded 6 to get 6 for sure. It was a lot of work just to do that on my end. And like I said, a learning curve. This, like I said, that Ripple Street record I did years ago, that was a breakup record. And if you listen, you can tell. This is a social commentary record. This is me, mocking, talking, calling out stuff that I think, BS and storytelling. This is more storytelling, less personal, more storytelling. So you've got 3 of the songs are old and 3 of the songs are new. 3 of the songs were in a movie, Benny Bliss and the Disciples of Greatness, that came out in 2006. That I play. That's a rock and roll road movie with an anti-technology bent. See, that's me right there. And the song that convinced Martin Gigi, the guy that was the director, and also a very accomplished musician. He plays with Billy Gibbons' band. He's the keyboardist in that band, and he's also a director. That's how this project got going. And the song that got him, sold him, was the song Big Brother, which is basically talking about, and I wrote this well over 10 years ago, talking about how, the 1984 play and movie concept was that, we were going to get spied on by our TVs and things, which we are, but really we've become Big Brother with our smartphones and everything. They basically like, here, we'll just keep track of you by yourself, and because everybody wants to post their life all the time, and we film everything all the time, that in fact we've become our own Big Brother. And it's just getting worse and worse, you know. But I find that sort of these are the types of things I find sort of ridiculous. One of the songs, another song called "The Healer," it's told from the point of view of a plastic surgeon. and, Bills in Space is about the billionaire space race, which I sort of think is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, why don't you three geniuses and billionaires figure out how to like create housing and you know, help feed people? How about that? How about, you know what I mean? Like put your brains to good use. You know what I mean?
But at least in Jeff Bezos's credit, or to his credit rather, I think he did secretly buy a guitar pedal company. Like on Amazon, you can find really cheap, great guitar pedals. So, I mean, he's not totally devoid of the arts. Amazon gives us good TV. Now, in terms of Tesla, I don't know what they give us in terms of the arts. So I think it's a billionaire by billionaire case basis, you know?
Yeah, you know, I remember when oh shoot, the Microsoft, Bill Gates started the Gates Foundation, and he got Warren Buffett as the first person, and the deal was, you had to, if you were a billionaire, you had to give up half your money. And they were doing an interview with him, and he said he knows lots of billionaires who won't do it. And he says because they don't think they can get by on $500,000, you know, dollars. He started laughing, you know, $500 million. It's like they don't think they can get by on that. Which is only he could say that. Of course, only Buffett could say that to those guys. But it's so true. Like when is enough enough? And like, you know, obviously, you know, most people of that success get into philanthropy, you know, ultimately. And I get that, and I think that's the right thing to do. But again, I think that these you know, these guys are obviously on some level geniuses. It's like, why don't they put their heads together and like solve? Because certainly the government doesn't seem to be doing it. Because, you know, one of the songs, "Safe Haven," you know, is sort of a double entendre between music being my safe haven, but also about how important it is we all have a place to call our own, to go home to after, you know, we're out in the world. I think it's, you know, it's the only place you can sort of just be yourself and let your guard down, right? And there are people who just don't have that option. And certainly in Los Angeles, you know, where I was involved with a feeding program for years, I've just seen it get worse and worse and worse. And the pandemic, it just got absolutely nuts. And I don't know. I just feel like it's, you know, California is the fifth richest place on the planet, not just the fifth richest city in the planet. Like, this is just not acceptable. Like it, but because there's no money in it, I hate to say it, but there's no for the politicians, there's no power or money or influence. There's no will to do it, and that's just a sad comment, man. That's just a sad comment.
Yeah.
Well, on this country's, you know, democracy is one thing, but it seems like capitalism sometimes breeds some ugliness that I just don't like, you know.
Right. Before I ask you an easy closing question, or what I think is going to be, in terms of your billionaires in the arts, did you ever hear about Paul Allen from Microsoft's secret rock band?
Yes. And he has two yachts, one just to carry his cars. Like that.
Yes, I mean, eccentric would be an understatement.
That's just obscene wealth. That's just obscene wealth. And you know, you better be doing something else other than traveling around in your two yachts, the ones that carries your car around, and pay some dudes to be in your band. I hope you're doing something else with your freaking success. That's all I have to say.
The studio boat, or the yacht boat thing, that had the studio. Yeah. I think Duran Duran recorded an album on it. So
that makes it all okay then. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I think one of these times we'll tape an interview and we'll talk about other billionaires and what they did with their money for rock, like Steve Wozniak's US Festival. But
I actually went to the US Festival, and that was a shit show trying to get out of there.
You went to the '83 Van Halen one, or the
new one? I did. Okay. That was quite I think I have to say Ozzy was the one who kicked ass. It was the most memorable person of that run. But getting in there was incredibly difficult. They parked us like 10 miles away, literally, and we were all walking to try to get in because they had no buses, and then we had to like pay some dudes to give us a ride. But getting out was even more of a shit show, where they were using school buses, and you just couldn't get any. You just couldn't get in. And finally, I climbed in a window, and a cop hit me with a billy club in my shin before I got through there. It hurt like hell. And the lady was like, yeah, and I just started putting down the window. She's like, no, no. I said, fuck you. And I put down the window. So everybody just climbed in the fucking bus. I was tired. I've been there for hours. I was over it, man. So the US Festival itself was cool, but the execution of getting people in and out was an absolute shit show.
I can imagine.
But I was there, brother. I was there.
Sometime I want to interview you around the time that my book on David Lee Roth is coming out in January. I want to interview you about the US Festival and that kind of thing.
We can do that. That'd be cool.
Okay, well, before I let you go here, on the film end, are we allowed to know what's next, what project to look for next, or are you all under embargoes and strikes and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I kind of can't talk about the future. So nothing, I have nothing major. It's been pretty much some indie films, but those indie films may get picked up by streaming services. So right now I have to lay low. Well, let's talk about the strike. We can. Should we talk about the strike for a couple of minutes?
Oh, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, man. I've seen this coming for years. I had a podcast for a minute called The Outlander Hour where I was trying to get people on to talk about this stuff, and nobody wanted to talk about how tough it was out there already. I was willing to say, like, look, actors aren't getting paid much anymore. Residual income is terrible now. And I saw the writing on the wall, and that's why in 2018 I bailed and moved to the Southeast. Where I was more affordable, but also it opened up the Southeast market, opened up the New York market, because I could just see the writing on the wall that LA was just sort of dying a slow death. Yeah. And the streaming services just really, you can really compare what's happening to the Hollywood film industry to what happened to the rock industry over a decade earlier, right? It's like CDs were like the cash cow, right? Make them for $1, sell them for $16. They were rolling, and once it went digital, that was over. Now bands can only really make their money on touring, at that. And I think
VIP packages, merch, touring.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that the film industry is facing the same dilemma right now. And I've watched many different points of view and interviews and talks on YouTube and such, and not one person has answered the question of how to solve it. They all talk about this problem, that problem, this problem, that problem, but no one's come up with a formula to solve it because I think it's very difficult to solve. The bottom line is residual income for actors is going away, and for a journeyman actor like myself, a mid-level actor, that's what saved me. When things would be slow, it's those residual checks that would pay my rent. So I feel really bad for the next generation coming up, because I think they're going to have a side hustle. And I also think that a lot of great minds are going to just not act because it's not affordable to act. They're going to go do something else. Like some of the great minds of a generation went into music because it was lucrative to be in music. It wasn't just because they wanted to play music. It was lucrative. It was fun. It was like one of the best. And where are most of those great minds now? Most of those great minds now are in Silicon Valley, where the very people that are going to tear Hollywood down, essentially, which is very interesting. But yeah, you're going to lose a lot of talent. I really believe some of the best talent may never exist in the next 20 years because they're going to go to some other job that's more lucrative and accessible, and that they can make a dent in. And I feel bad about that. I really feel bad. I feel the industry is going to suffer because I don't think, people always think about the stars, and I understand stars are the ones that put butts in seats, but the supporting cast is what it rounds out the project. Without a strong support, you're only, even the star is really only as good as his supporting cast in a lot of ways. And if those people are, and I do some very small independent films where sometimes they're vanity projects and people hire themselves, they hire their friends, and it shows, man. It shows. Like, there's no getting around that. They're not seasoned, and they're sometimes they do fundraisers where people put some money into the movie so they can do that part. And it's a small part, but they're still, they want to be actors. They're not.
To cut you off, it's the same exact thing in music, where let's say you play drums for McCartney. If McCartney's not on tour, you go, the retainer money isn't necessarily there. Oh, this dentist wants me to play on his album. It's just 3 hours of work. That's the equivalent of you doing some of these indie films. But at the same time, I think it's
absolutely the same. And I think that you're right. That's happening more and more, I'm sure.
But the Comic-Cons for actors are the equivalent of the VIP meet and greet packages for the bands these days.
Right.
Same thing. So
on that note, on a VIP concept, I think one of the things I want to do this year, and I think I said it in the PR package, was so it's the 40th anniversary of Korn next year. And that ties in right to when we can go out and start promoting this record. You know, we're trying to go out like 10-day stints, you know, different sections of the country, that kind of thing. But last year in the Catskills, I did a commentary for Children of the Corn for a 35 millimeter print, which is probably one of the only ones left in existence. And so we're going to try to do that at some art houses around the country where we'll show the movie, do a Q&A, the band will play, and then do a VIP, which I'll then be able to pay the band and stuff, right? So, but I think that'll actually be fun, and I think that'll actually get out some of the core audience. And again, they'll come and see, like, can this dude do anything? And hopefully we'll hold our own, you know? Paltrocast.